When did you send it?
Before you went out with,
Yes.
I'll resend.
To put it on your your radar map, with the adoption of the new maps that are coming out, we have to update our ordinance for that, and it has to, but I have a number in there. Yes, ma'am, sorry.
So what we haven't done, we have to update before we do it.
No, it's during that whole same process.
So is that too?
That's what I'm saying, we have to go ahead and change what we've already done. But we haven't taken it forward,
Yeah, right.
so we need to make changes to the one you have.
So is that,
Correct.
so is that template, from FF?
It's from Rebecca Quinn, you know? Yeah, just like we did it before.
I didn't know if you had copies, I made 8, I didn't know how many.
Okay,
They
okay,
got that email.
okay.
I'm looking for my phone so I can turn it down. That's come up to. Where is it?
No alerts, no alerts.
That week I was out, actually, weekend, Friday afternoon and then, I don't know, but I was so sick. Somebody could have robbed my house. Take everything, just leave me alone.
Right, let me go back to bed.
I was,
Yeah,
We still doing the public forum at the beginning?
Yeah, you have to fill out a sign up.
I didn't see no
Have you
forms
seen
over
this?
there.
oh, well, we not
it's a
put one
mental
back there?
form.
It's back there. It's right here to your immediate left.
is it just a,
You can fill that
just a
afterwards.
speaker? It's just a speaker form. I don't think you have to fill out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a sign-in form.
Yeah.
Where's the speaker request forms? They're probably in the box.
We just wanna see you walk back and forth.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
They're getting the
Tell
steps
See
in.
this book?
We
Right
don't-
there. Have I seen this book? No, I have
Thank
not
you.
seen
Larry,
this
they don't allow
So I need to
speakers
read.
anymore.
Do you want, I haven't read it yet, but we need to also give it to her.
book. You can read it.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, yes, you should read it. You need to know about your children.
It was, she's in my draft.
You have adopted this chicken. You need to get
Oh,
your
She chases the cats.
kids chicken. Well, she's only doing that for safety. Like, she needs that.
We still, they still do it like the old chair did, where he said, if you wanna say anything, you wanna tell a joke,
We have
do
two
all that.
troops and then a large
Big
run,
bright night
and
on
which
it.
is so hot. It's hot out there.
You would have something in
So,
there.
it's just safe for
Who
them.
gets it?
Sacramento. Now, at our other house, we let them free range, they went around our backyard. And they was, literally,
This wasn't your pen.
Oh, it was up there, sorry about that.
Over there.
Trying to steal it?
Where's your address, dude?
Address? Listen, why do all you women
There
always
is an
want my
asterisk
address, my
on
phone
here.
number? What the heck?
we don't want your phone number.
Trust me, we don't want your phone number.
You got it.
I got your number.
I should just have one of these on file for every meeting, just automatic.
A Larry Downs Jr. on file.
Yeah, you should have that.
We should have a file on you too. Yeah.
I think they all got a file on there.
The Larry file.
You know, I've never had a tetanus shot in my whole life. Never had tetanus, although there's a lot of people who wish I'd get that.
Is that really a thing? Cause it's kinda like Sasquatch. I ain't never met anybody.
Right.
Never met nobody.
Took a nail to the
And
foot.
hardly anybody is up to
Me
date.
too. I've done that, but I don't even know what it is.
Hey, I only know one, out of all my interviews, only met one that had tetanus.
What is it?
He was telling me, he said it was painful. He said just the whole body. He said,
Hey, Brian,
it's really, he said, you
is
don't
this
really
about
have
the
to
agenda
Is it
item?
like
makes-
gangrene?
You don't need this.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
thanks.
we're gonna let you, we just make him do it.
Yeah, I got a tetanus shot.
Good morning, everyone. We call this meeting to order. Escambia County COMSI Board, our regular meeting, February the 5th, 9 o'clock in the morning. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum this morning?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, with 8 members present, you do.
Good deal. Good to see Miss Christie back today. Do we have a proof of publication?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It was published in the Pensacola News Journal on January 30th, 2025.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting, January 8, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is carried. Do we have anyone signed up for public forum today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we have Larry Downs Jr.
Can we say no? Just kidding. Are we allowed to limit the public? We have a 30-second rule.
It's up to the chairman.
Mr. Downs, would you like to approach the podium and tell us what matters? Because I'm sure you will.
All right, let me start off with my usual. Larry Downs Junior Plumbing LLC, because fecal matters. All right, this here is just for, because y'all did participate. Most of y'all did participate in the pandemic, the scamdemic. The real Anthony Fauci. Irwin, can you believe everybody followed a man who needed a preemptive pardon now? Who needs a pardon and accepted a pardon? You can't make that up. Nothing says follow the science like your hero needing a pardon. It's amazing. Anyways, also, if y'all would, contact your ECUA board representative and tell them that our Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, calls for a halt in the fluoride, which they call it fluoride, injecting into the water. But it's really hexafluorosilicic acid. It's a byproduct of making phosphate. It's not fluoride. But our lots of studies, our Florida Surgeon General said that these studies say that it lowers the IQ on children. Now, that seems kind of par for the course. Y'all think we've had a little bit of lower IQ level, more compliance? Also, these corporate chemical injections called vaccines lower the testosterone in boys, their sperm count, all of it. And if y'all think I'm kidding you, this is from Dr. Joseph Ladapo. He called for a halt in the use of COVID mRNA vaccinations. Whole letter here. He sent that to every doctor in the state. This right here, and I'm just trying to educate about the real science. This is the real science of the safety data insert sheets. For the COVID, for the Tdap, the MMR, it's all non-science. They say in every one of these you go to 13.1, and it says whatever the product is. Let's just say COVID. Let's say RSV. It says 13.1. Comirnaty, or Spikevax, if you're going with the Moderna, has not been evaluated for carcinogenic, mutagenic, or impairment in male fertility. And it says that across the board. The only thing that changes is on some of them, it says impairment in fertility. It doesn't say males. Isn't that weird? We have a repopulation rate in our country of 1.5 right now. It takes 2.6 to maintain the same level, same number of people in a society. We in trouble. And I don't know if y'all have noticed, but the males that we have seem to be having a hard time becoming men, the boys. I call it LTM. It's a LTM syndrome, low testosterone males. Their sperm count's down. They're having a hard time becoming men, and we happen to need men in this country. We need them. I know lots of people think that, that men can do everything women can do, and women can do everything men can do, but that's a lie. That's not biological science. We need them. So anyways, Irwin, when it comes to drugs, especially pharmaceutical, corporate chemical injections, just say no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Downs. Hopefully you won't have the flu in 2 weeks after.
I don't care if I do.
Just messing
The
with you.
flu don't bother me. None of it does.
Anybody else on public forum?
No, sir, we have no other sign-up.
Good deal. contractor applications?
We have board secretaries.
Oh, Board Secretary status report, excuse me, I
Yes, sir.
apologize.
At this time, I would like to request an add-on for Mr. Robert Bose to qualify an additional entity. He had his application in before the agenda. It just got missed putting it onto the agenda. It should have been on the agenda. So at this time, I'm just requesting that this could be added on.
Could you spell it Robert, B-O-Z-E or
BOES.
B-O-E-S? Robert?
And I believe we have his application to distribute.
Okay, good, good, good. We'll add him to
We
number
need a
5.
motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none here, none. Motion's approved to add it to our agenda today.
Dante's going to pass out that application now.
Good deal. He's a good man.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And that's it for the board secretary status update.
Okay, so we'll move into our contractor applications, and when we get to number 5, Mr. Boaz, we'll give enough time for everybody to really review that appropriately as well, so. Ready?
Yes. Good morning, Board. The first applicant that is due to appear before you today is Mr. Joshua Campbell. And Mr. Joshua Campbell, if you are present today, please come to the podium.
Board members, I believe Mr. Joshua Campbell is not present at this meeting today. I did confirm with him yesterday his attendance. I'm unsure of his whereabouts today.
It can still be presented to the board as an application, and it'll be at the discretion of the board on whether they approve or disapprove.
All righty, so I'll continue if I may. All righty, so Mr. Campbell, he's applying for the application to take the demolition examination and appears before, well, if he was here, before you today with 16 years and 27 days of experience. He works under the Renaissance Incorporated with a Class A wrecking license with license number WH1800001. All right. So Mr. Campbell's license is based out of the city of Indianapolis, Indiana. Included in the package, you will find the copies of Mr. Campbell's license along with the definition of the corresponding license type. His past experience include, but not limited to, being a project manager, construction operations manager, and field operations manager. Furthermore, he has passed the following exams with DBPR by way of Pearson VUE examination for the business finance, general contractor administrator, as well as general project manager. And see, we are awaiting his state, we're awaiting his state certified license, and staff is deferring to the board for approval or denial of the application.
So what has happened here is this applicant applied also to the state and is anticipating that he would receive a state certified license. However, there's a specific project that he was wanting to be a part of, so he came here to the county in hopes that he could get licensed quicker. The tests that he passed with the state are not the required examinations for demolition. He did pass the business side of it, but he would still have to pass the examination for demolition. It's his hope that he could do that rather quickly so he could take part in this project that he would like to.
Do you have any comments from the board?
I'm looking at his list of licenses, and they're all based out of state. Am I correct in saying that, with the exception of this one is applying for?
They are, that is correct, sir. He holds a number of licenses in other states. Specifically for verification, he did want to utilize his Class A wrecking license out of Indianapolis. So his examination, which was passed, was general contractor. He has passed that with the state, but based on time, he's wanting to come here for the demolition. The state just has not issued that license to him as of yet.
So I'm gonna take it he's gonna sub this job out.
I believe from speaking with him, I believe it is his desire to perform that scope of work himself.
Chair, can I speak on this one? It's an agenda item.
I don't think so, Mr. Downs. Let us work through this first, if you don't mind.
And you said that he was gonna be present today?
I actually called and spoke with him yesterday, around 11 o'clock, and he confirmed he would be here. I'm not sure why he's not. I mean, I know he was flying down, maybe he's delayed, with travel possibly.
Why don't we do this, if it's okay with the board, just put it off till later, if he shows up, we can
Yes,
discuss it
can we
at that
table
time.
this to the end of the agenda today? Just give an opportunity. Let's do that. Give him a chance in case something happened.
Is anyone able to contact him just to see?
That's Nick.
Okay, fantastic.
And we'll do that. We'll move it to, is that okay, Ms. Christie, if we move it to the end of the agenda and just keep it active for today and then
Sure.
decide at the end?
Yes, the board can move items around.
Okay.
When it becomes necessary.
Do we need a motion for it or just to move?
No, I think as the board chair, you can approve or disapprove anything that's come before.
So
the
I
board.
will approve to move item number 1 to the end of the agenda today in case Mr. Kimmel arrives.
Yes, Nick is going to make a phone call to
Good
get.
deal. Let's
to get
do
an
that. Give him a
update.
fair chance. Okay?
I'm gonna go ahead and take Nick's place until he comes back, for this. Our next item is Stephen Andrews, application for reciprocity, RC 29027933. Mr. Andrews is coming before this board for reciprocity of his license from Santa Rosa County. Normally reciprocity does not come for review before this board, but because there were some yeses checked within the application, it's up to the board to make the decision. I believe Mr. Andrews is present, correct? Mr. Andrews, if you will come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name's Stephen Andrews. My address is 4754 Autumndale Drive, Pace, Florida.
And the board's now going to review your application, and they may have some questions for you.
Absolutely.
So, I see your explanation letter of what happened, and we've all had, none of us is lily white, so don't feel like you're contaminated because of something happened.
No,
That's a-
absolutely not.
That's a growing up process
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely, yeah. It's a
The
learning
thing that
thing.
is kind of going on your experience here. If I got this right, you're applying for roofing, right?
Yes, sir.
And then where is the roofing experience? I don't see, I know we require, was a minimum of 2 years? And I know you're like 1 year, 11 months. and
So it's actually 4 years of experience
years.
that are required. Mhm.
Okay. And I don't see that.
Well, 453.111 in the Florida Code states that you can have 1 year of experience with 3 years of college experience for licensure.
Yeah, college experience in that field. I don't see college experience in,
It says any college credits.
So what Mr. Andrews is referencing is the requirements to have a licensed state.
statewide, yeah. That's
Not necessarily the requirements to have a license in Escambia County.
Right, yeah.
It's at the discretion of the board on whether they're going to honor what he has put forth as his experience.
But the county's recommendation is 4 years?
The county's requirement is
Requires
4
4
years of
years, yeah.
experience.
Okay.
They do have some breakdowns, and historically, this board has allowed college education, like Mr. Lister has said, if it's within the trade. But again, the state does allow for any type of college education with 1 year of supervisory role experience in the trade. That's what their requirements say. So that's why Mr. Andrews is applying, because he fulfills that state requirement.
Is the state any college credits, period?
So they
I
have-
thought there was some
they have-
parameters in there.
Yes, it breaks down in three different,
Right.
ABC kind of things.
Right.
I have the
A-
book if you would like to see it.
Excuse
I
us,
got
but-
it. A is where you have college experience in the trade, and then a lesser, 1 year hands-on experience in the
Okay.
trade. The second one is actually 4 years of hands-on experience with 1 year of supervisory role.
Okay.
And then the third option is any kind of college experience, but supervisory role. So there's
Right.
several options
I thought
when
there's some
getting a
perimeters to
state
it.
license.
Right, right. And you haven't met those qualifications for the state license.
Yes, sir.
Have you received state license,
Yeah, I have a certified residential license.
but not roofing?
No, sir. But I would assume it would have followed the same.
No, there's some caveats there, if I'm not mistaken, that, like Ms. Jennifer was saying, there's certain things there. You can't just have, I'm just gonna use something random, like 4 years of nursing and come get roofing license.
May I approach the bench with the
I have it.
book?
We're pretty prepared here. I think we know what we're,
So what you're seeing on your screen now is Florida Statute 489-111. You said 453 earlier, it's 489.
that's the construction, yeah.
And you see items 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is for licensure by examination with the state, mind you.
So it's on the screen up there if you want to see what she's reading.
Correct. So item 1 is having that bachelor's degree, and I'm actually going to try to bring it up a little bit bigger just so everybody can see it. A bachelor's degree from an accredited four-year college in the appropriate field of engineering, architecture, building construction, and 1 year of proven experience in the category in which the person seeks to qualify. So that doesn't have to be a supervisory role. It could just be 1 year of hands-on
But
experience.
it has to be in the field of engineering, architect, or building construction.
That's correct.
Right.
Number 2 is the 4 years of active experience as a worker who has learned by trade, serving as an apprenticeship or a skilled worker, and have at least 1 year as a foreman. So that's where that's what we typically see
Right.
in this
Right.
arena.
Yeah.
And then 3 is the one that Mr. Andrews is referencing, and it says has a combination of not less than 1 year experience as a foreman and not less than 3 years of credits for any accredited college level course. That's what he's coming to this board with today.
Mr. Chair, when you get around to it, I would like to speak on this item also.
And just to remind the board, this is not to take the examination. You're not allowing him to take the examination. He actually wants to reciprocate his license from Santa Rosa over here. Now, we all know that Santa Rosa does not have any kind of experience requirement. They will allow you to sit for the exam, whereas Escambia County has extensive experience requirements.
Right.
So, just to refresh.
So this is a state level here, what you read on your screen, and our local level is 4 years and does not really, we can leverage to accept this if we choose to, but our county ordinance has 4 years' experience, correct?
So our county ordinance has that guidelines, but then also references back to 489 in
Right.
general. It's at this board's discretion
Right, that's what
on
I'm
this
saying.
application.
We have an option of accepting it. Any discussion from the board?
And I'm gonna take it to staff's recommendation is to let the board make the decision.
Based upon statute and what would be allowed, it is staff's recommendation to defer to the board, yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm guessing the question here is looking at section 3 is whether or not you meet that criteria statewide. So just so that we're on the same page, even though the state requires a minimum requirement, the county requires their minimum requirement. And I think it's based on this panel's decision to determine whether or not that you have had the experience based on what you're providing to us. Just want to be clear, so if the board decides not to go in this direction, there's nothing against you, but it's determination that we don't feel that you have the
Yeah.
qualifications in order to meet one or two of the other or either.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Or, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm curious, licensed in Santa Rosa, have you pulled any roofing permits in Santa Rosa?
I've done one, and I've also reciprocated over to Walton County also, and I've done one in Phoenix Springs. And I do all my, I build new houses, that's what I do. And I do all my new roofs, I do it all, so.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done in construction and in roofing so the panel knows?
So,
Your
you
work
know,
history.
we sit up, I mean, I pretty much, if we do any new roofs, I sit up there and make sure the guys are doing, you know, the 6-inch, every 12 inches on the underlayment, you know, 6 inches on the, or 6 to 8 inches on the flashing, you know, 8 to 10 on the drip. You know, I make sure there's at least 4 nails every 12 inches on the architectural shingles we do. You know, make sure there's the proper underlayment on the valleys, and flashing goes in the proper places and stuff. I mean, I make sure my guys do a good job, you know.
Through the chair, I think he pulls all of his roofing permits on new construction, which is allowed for a D1 contractor.
Mr. Paul has his hand raised, but before Mr. Paul, before you, let me just make a clarification to the board, and Mr. Tim can help me. I think I'm correct with this. As a, are you state residential licensed?
Yes, sir.
So as a CRC, he can only pull permits for asphalt roofs, not metal.
That's right. That's
Okay.
correct, asphalt shingles.
So if he
New.
if he goes into this, he will then be allowed to do metal roofs?
So a roofing license opens the door for him to do all types
That's what I'm-
of installations
Yeah.
on, not only on residential, but also commercial
Commercial,
projects.
right. We'll make sure everybody's aware that what he has been doing is shingle roofs, because that's what's allowed with his current license, and this opens up a whole nother field. Mr. Paul?
And his current license is CRC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he would be able, in Escambia County, provide the same roofs, right?
For his projects, he couldn't go roof your house, but if he's building a home, and Mr. Tim, correct me, if he's building a home, he can asphalt roof, shingle roof, that particular home, but you just can't go do somebody else. You can't advertise as a roofer, and you can't put metal, you can't put tile, bitten, all that stuff. You just, you know, you're limited.
Right.
That's correct. Now, after storms, the governor has issued
Right.
executive orders allowing D1 contractors to do re-roofs. But it still sticks with asphalt shingles.
Right.
But again, someone could come in with experience in asphalt shingle, in other words, working for a roofing company, and that's all he's done, and he would qualify to take the exam for a roofing contractor.
I have a question because I'm not real clear. So you've only pulled one permit in Santa Rosa County?
For roofs, yes. Well, for a re-roof, I've done 5 new constructions last year in Santa Rosa County. I've done 3 in the city.
Okay. The only other question is, for me, is on your certificate of insurance, you need to make sure, or staff needs to make sure, that particular company that you're with, if you just got it for your GC, that's all they're gonna cover you for. If you're doing roofing operations, it's gonna exclude it for that
okay.
particular carrier.
Yes,
Very
ma'am.
specifically.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Okay.
you need to
Thank-
make sure that,
thank you.
that gets updated.
Okay, yes,
with-
ma'am.
With them.
Okay.
This is gonna be at the discretion of the board then. very much aware of that, Mr. Downs.
So Chairman, you have that determination. We don't really have a specific rule regarding, it's not like planning and zoning where you have to speak and able to be at the next,
Right.
the board meeting. So that's to your discretion, and you can also time limit if you want it. It needs to be on subject matter, though. It needs to be subject matter and not, and not about fluoride. So, just so you know.
Mr. Downs, I don't like doing this. I'll be honest with you. I don't like doing this because if we open it up, we could be here for the rest of this day. I do respect you to the point that I'm gonna let you come speak. But I just want you to know, you've set up here, you know, we need to keep it focused on what we're talking about and to the point. And we understand your fight for humanity. That's your choice, but not during this. So you can speak for a second. Yes, sir. I understand. Can you let Mr. Downs come up for a second?
Time duration. Alton, maybe like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, Larry Downs Jr. again. Yeah, this is just strictly tradesman stuff here. I would encourage y'all to go ahead and approve this, motion to approve. And the reason is, and I ain't saying that he's got any experience at all to be able to do it, but I mean, you know, y'all have an incentive. I mean, some of y'all do, an incentive to deny applicants because you're in the business or you have friends in the business.
Your time is up.
Well, I'm just
It's not
telling
true.
you.
It's not true.
It's not true.
This board is very fair.
Are you in business?
This board is very fair, Mr. Downs.
And I'm going to interrupt real quick because I have a question. Mr. Downs, if you could sit down, please.
Yeah.
I want to just kind of discuss.
This board has been very fair. I just want to say this.
It's
This board's been very fair.
It's an agenda item.
And we have handled issues that was against our industry as builders and different things. We've handled it with the proper handling.
Well, I
And
didn't
I'm very
accuse
proud of this
you
board.
or anybody else of
Okay.
anything.
And,
so if we can.
but you insinuated that we would have a decision, and
No,
I got another
no.
builder right here beside me.
There are.
And we
there-
do not do that.
There
So-
is an interest.
Okay. Thank you for your time, and you're dismissed.
Yeah, all right.
If
Thank
we
you.
could
No,
discuss this to
you're
look
dismissed.
at the best case, worst case scenario. I know going with your historical knowledge and building knowledge, if you might go over that a little bit.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Best case, worst case scenario of this situation here.
The biggest thing, the flag I see is that we're opening him to actually go in and do commercial roofing now on a modified Bitnam roof, just whatever you want to call it. Mr. Batchelor's not here today. We're allowing him to go into a big open field that is way beyond nailing on shingle roof. I mean, just it is. So I'm just, there's hesitation that comes from that because when we say it's okay to do this, we're letting you go into the public now. And that's what we're here for, is to protect the public, okay? So now we're letting you go into the public and we're not sure of your experience with, have you ever done a modified Bitnam roof?
No, sir, but.
So you understand, Mr.
Yeah,
Campbell?
yeah, I do. But let me ask you this question, all right? So under those qualifications, I should be able to go take the state test, right? And if I pass the state test,
Then you're clean, yeah.
so what's the difference?
Well, the difference is you got to go to the state and take a test. You're asking for reciprocity.
Reciprocity, yeah. Because that means that he doesn't have to take any examination.
No, yeah, you have no
Well,
examination.
Right.
So I'll use myself. I can't put I know what a modified bit. I've watched them. I'm not. There's no way I'm gonna go out there and put one on myself. You know, I'd screw that joker up, man, all kind of problems. But I've done commercial buildings and had guys do it for.
Right.
But just because I've done that doesn't mean I can go do it myself. Does that make sense? So I just think that it would be better to have the experience of the level that you're going to. You see what I'm saying? Versus just, does that make sense?
I'd like to make a comment also.
Sure, Mr. Paul.
I've been around a lot of roof projects, and I've also been, I do a lot of forensic work on buildings. The single most critical failure that I find all throughout the state of Florida are roofs and flashing, okay? And
Absolutely.
There are plenty of contractors out there that have licenses and have a lot of technical expertise.
Oh, I know.
And, you know, and still get it wrong, okay? So I have two exceptions, for this application. One is the standard requirements. Most people who get their roofing, or any contractor who gets a license has to go through a certain criteria. And for me to raise my hand and say, yeah, let's give this an exception, it pushes me, especially seeing so many leaking buildings and rotting buildings to the point of failure. And we just had a rotted building in Miami collapse, Champlain Towers, okay? And so when you're roofing a building, flashing, keeping water out of a building is critical. And so roofs are problematic, and then there's standard requirements that we have established that a lot of people coming before us intend to meet and are required to meet. So I just, those are my two red flags that I want to, voice to the board.
And I would just like to remind you one more time, if the insurance that you've presented to us here is what you currently have for the other county, you currently are completely bare for when it
Okay.
comes to doing any roof work
Okay.
whatsoever, currently,
Okay.
even with your licensing over there. So you need to get that addressed like today.
Okay.
The comments, I think there's a feeling of maybe encouraging him to get his state license, and that way he won't have to worry about it versus us doing this without the experience nor passing a test. I'm hearing that.
I can take your test if you like.
I think if you just done the state, you wouldn't have to worry about any of us.
Yeah, I mean,
That'd
it
be the
doesn't matter.
smartest thing. You go to any county in the state of Florida, you wouldn't have to worry about us.
Yeah, it's just your test would probably be easier.
It's actually the same test, sir. And I would say that even if you have to meet the same requirements for reciprocity as for examination here in the county. So that same requirement would,
is it the same one as Santa Rosa?
no, Santa Rosa has totally different requirements.
Okay, but so the test is different.
It's actually the same test.
So you just said it was a different test.
From the state, no. The state examination and the state requirements are different than local.
But the Escambia County and Santa Rosa tests are the same.
We go through the same testing provider. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's the same test.
So do I have a motion from the board on this? We can accept or deny at this point. Is that correct, Ms. Christie? We have the option of accepting or denying the application?
Right, that is within the board's discretion.
Accept or deny.
And if there's not a motion period, wouldn't it just automatically be denied?
It would just die.
Okay.
So do I have a motion either way? Or are we gonna let it die? I don't have a motion, so we can't go forward. I can only recommend, just, you can throw it away, you can throw it in the trash, it ain't gonna matter. But I would recommend to try to go to the state license, that way you don't have to worry about it. Or else come and apply to us to take the test and not just reciprocity.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next item, Timothy Sanders.
Yes, sir. If I may, Board, I did reach Mr. Campbell by telephone. He explained to me last night that the contract he wished to obtain has been extended, so he will be rescinding his application.
Okay.
He did not come down.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
I would like to publicly just make a statement real quick. This is just because I'm who I am. I respected the gentleman that was speaking a while ago and gave him an opportunity to come to the board. I even said to him, I respect you enough to let you hear. And the fact that we were insinuated to not be fair, I felt like was disrespectful. And therefore, that's the reason why I terminated that conversation. Just for the record, I'd like to have that on there, that there's no personal agenda. It was just the fact that I respect you until you don't respect us.
Just so going forward, if you have any other input that's coming from someone, that's what I mentioned, it has to be on topic. And in that situation, you would want to know, the questions that you may want to consider asking when you're handling that situation is, do you know the person? Do you have any information about the person? But as far as trying to influence the board's decision, making a motion from the floor or that type of thing, that would be something you'd want to address to make sure that on topic would have been, he knows him, he knows his quality of work, those types of things.
Gotcha. Thank you, Ms. Christie. We can't do this without you.
So, board, just to circle back, Mr. Campbell, Nick did reach out to Mr. Campbell, and he's actually withdrawing his application.
Yeah, he just mentioned that he was
Okay,
sending
I'm
it.
sorry, I was out of the
No,
room.
you're fine.
Thank
You're
you.
fine.
Just make sure.
We've covered it.
Thank you.
Next.
Yes, sir. Our next application will be an application for reinstatement of delinquent license for Mr. Timothy Sanders. He was unable to be in attendance today, but I will be making a phone call. If you will pardon me for just a moment, I will get him on the phone.
Sure.
Hi, Mr. Sanders. This is Nick Marino with Escambia County Building Services. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Not too bad, Brother Nick.
Sir, we are in the Contractor Competency Board, and we are on your agenda item for application of reinstatement for delinquent license. For the record, would you please state your name and your address, sir?
Timothy Sanders, address is 3765 Canton Street, Cocoa, 32926.
Thank you, sir. Board members, Mr. Sanders is coming before you to reinstate a delinquent license, delinquent 3 years, 1 month, and 11 days. He has paid the $150 to appear before the board, and all his insurances, business tax receipt, and paperwork is up to date and current. It would be at your discretion to reinstate this license.
Mr. Sanders, would you like to address the board? Do you have any comments?
No, sir. I'd just like to reinstate my license.
Could you tell us what happened for it to be delinquent, just as a little summary?
I can barely hear him. We're no longer doing work in Escambia County, and then there was a job that did not get a permit, and I need to pull a permit so the lady can get insurance on her house. My manager said he pulled the permits. The job in question did have an NOC filed, but somewhere along the way, the permit didn't get filed or got lost.
Was that in Escambia County?
That was in Escambia County.
And maybe I didn't hear you correctly.
Mr. Sanders? Can you hear me?
Okay.
So,
It's breaking up, but yeah.
so, Mr. Sanders, so from what you just said, during your time when you had an active license, you were under the assumption that a permit got obtained for a particular house or a particular project. But now you haven't been working in Escambia County and you were informed that a permit had not been obtained and that homeowner insurance is an issue now. So you're wanting to get your license reinstated so that you can remedy this situation.
Yes, ma'am. This is exactly what's going on. It's an elderly couple. Like I said, my manager, we filed an NOC. When they went to do the permitting, they said there wasn't a permit pulled on the residence. So I need to refile for the permit so she can get her insurance for her house.
And the board questioned why you didn't renew your Escambia County license previously.
I haven't worked in Escambia County. We haven't done any more work up there since the storms, actually. I think 2020, 2021.
board members, his renewal date was November the 7th, 2021.
Any questions from the board to Mr. Sanders?
Is he still a licensed contractor?
Mr. Sanders, are you still licensed in other jurisdictions?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just make a comment. So this homeowner is basically suffering with her insurance and cannot get insurance that's probably at a decent rate, or if at all, or get credit for a new roof that she has and had paid for because the permit was not pulled, because the carriers are being extremely, very, very sticky on getting that permit, and they want to see it closed. So if the contractor hasn't pulled it or closed it, the homeowner is the one that's paying the price for it. So if we don't let him get his license back so that he can remedy the, we're at the end, we're hurting the consumer.
Was his work done without a permit, though,
Sounds that way.
originally?
He was under the assumption that a permit was obtained. He recently found out that it was not.
There was an NOC filed on the residence. The manager I had running up there said he filed one, but it seems like there wasn't, because nobody has records of it.
And we don't have proof of the NOC being filed, I guess.
I'm aware of no, ma'am.
You
I
can
mean, we
look
would
that
have
up.
to research
Yeah,
that
you
for
can
you,
look
Ms.
that up.
Mary. I mean, we could. And typically how this comes to us, I don't know if this was the instance here. Normally the homeowner contacts our department, finds out, hey, I need proof of permit for my insurance. At that time, we tell them, hey, there is no permit. You need to circle back with your contractor. And that's when the contractor would, obtain that permit, or, in this instance, he couldn't obtain the permit because he had a delinquent license.
But he got the work done. I'm not feeling comfortable allowing him to get a license when he's already violated by doing the roof without a permit.
How many permits did he pull while he did have a license?
I can pull that up for you. I need you to hold that. So what you're seeing on your screen now is our software. That houses our licensing cards as well as all permit information. Here's his license card, Timothy R. Sanders. And you can see that it is currently at an inactive status. Associated permits, he only pulled a couple here.
That's it.
We don't have a record of how many jobs he done during that time, but only showing one void for non-payment, no one closed for no inspection.
Mr. Sanders, if you would, sir, what is the homeowner's name for your client?
God, I don't have it in front of me. Got it in my truck. Hold on one second. I have it on my phone. Johnny E. Portress.
I'm sorry, would you say that one more time for us, please, sir?
Portress, let's see, it's Johnny E. Portress, P-O-R-T-I-S.
Thank you, sir.
Andy Portress.
It would be Portris, P-O-R-T-I-S.
I have a couple questions.
P-O-R-T-I-S. Yep, let's see. address 1235 Rural Street, R-U-L-E.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Paul has a couple of questions.
Is the work complete, first of all? Who did the work? When was it completed? And can we get a copy of his license, current license?
So, Mr. Sanders, when was this job completed? Is the work complete? Who performed the scope of work? And may we obtain a copy of your current license, sir?
Yes, the job was completed, first, probably, I think, January 8th is what the completion date was on it.
Yes, sir.
The NOC, like I said, is filed with your clerk of the court. Like I said, we wouldn't try to do a job without a permit, or I wouldn't have filed an NOC. I mean, that's just, we got it on record that we tried to do the job. It is completed. She's happy with the job. It's an elderly couple, and they're trying to get insurance for their house.
Yes, sir. And just to answer Mr. Paul's question, you performed that scope of work yourself with your license?
With my license, yes, I did.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Paul, if you look on your screen, that's his current state registration.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am?
How many jobs did he actually perform in this county? Not just a pulled permit?
I don't know
So,
if we want to know that.
sir, how many jobs were performed within the county, not just for the permits pulled?
I'm not sure. I'd have to get with the manager who was running my job up there at the time. Not a lot. If you go to Brevard County, you'll pull up thousands. That's where my main office is at. But up there, I'm not sure how many we did.
So, just to draw your attention to the backup documentation within the license card, he reciprocated here back in 2020. That was after Hurricane Sally. A lot of contractors did reciprocate their license up here. In the permits, there were only a few permits pulled here. They did keep sending us insurances, things like that, so we do have those on file. And then the last items you will see where he, is asking for reinstatement. That's that backup documentation.
Do we have a motion to do something with this? Puts us in a little awkward position.
I actually have a question for Mr. Sanders.
Sure.
So, Mr. Sanders, really the reasoning for this reinstatement is to get this remedied. After that's reinstated, do you intend to take your license inactive, or are you going to keep it at an active status?
I'll probably go inactive, especially Escambia County.
Thank you.
So basically what we're doing is a homeowner a favor, like Ms. Mary said earlier, so. Do you have a motion to,
Now, would we put an asterisk on it for it to be then, yeah, enacted by
I don't
certain
think we
date,
can do that. I
or-
think we,
So you could limit permitting after this event,
Okay, that's
Okay.
what, okay.
just like we
perfect.
do with other licenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could say, along with the motion, that no additional permits can be pulled.
That would be a disciplinary action, but you would just basically say this, for the purposes of pulling this permit, any further permits, he just needs to come back and have.
Before the board, okay.
Yeah.
so I will entertain a
Based on
motion.
his statements to you today, this is what he's asking for, is for a one-time shot at fixing this problem. And so you can limit it to what he's actually asking for, because he's not asking for a permit to come back and build a lot, or fix things. He wants
Right.
to fix this one problem and you could do a limitation based on his request.
Ms. Mary?
And I have a question for Mr. Tolbert. When he pulls this permit, in order to get a final called in, he has to submit the pictures, I'm assuming, because it's a self-inspection?
He has to submit definitely an affidavit certifying that it missed in progress inspection. He's taking responsibility for anything that we were not able to inspect. So yes, an affidavit's required. It would be at the buildings official's discretion on whether he wanted pictures submitted for this project.
Is this a, this, Riri? Typically, we don't require it, but it would be nice to have them.
I know that, Ms. Jordan, your concern has been the citizen, and I completely agree with you. That should always be our main focus. Will the photographs help them at all with their insurance issue?
No, not so much. It
Okay.
just, I don't know, maybe puts my mind at ease that they actually did the job, because they have to take the pictures in stages. So the pictures that they take would at least show them that it was done.
Mr. Sanders, do you have any photographs and documentation for this job?
No, but if I need to have them, I will send the manager up there to take them.
Yes, sir.
Can't do it. This would be after, but not in progress, yeah. She's talking about in progress pictures, yeah. It's too late for that. So do I have a motion for anything?
I make a motion to reinstate the license, and then if he wants to, per his request, and if any future permits are wanted, him to come before the board.
Before you go forward, hold on just a moment.
So our deputy building official actually was, whenever the license card was up, he brought attention to the fact that there is another permit on Corydale that had no inspection. Now, this one was never paid for. I don't know if the project was done or not.
Right.
But Mr. Ballou, deputy building official, wanted to bring attention to the board about these two permits that may need some attention.
So if we did reinstate, his license, he would need to take care of these as well. It'd be appropriate time for him to take care of these as well.
Why don't we ask him?
Ms. Christie, is there anything?
If that's what his request is, to reinstate it so he can straighten things out, you can certainly comply with his request.
Mr. Sanders, were you aware that there's a couple of permits that are still hanging loose on your name?
No, I am not, but now that I am, it will be addressed.
So if we allow him to have his license back, he can address these at the same time then? Okay.
So let's make sure, and I know we were in the middle of a motion when we interrupted that, and I apologize. So make sure that what Mr. Sanders is asking for is that he have the ability to be licensed in the area for the purposes of resolving these open and problem 3 properties. There's 3 properties involved, and he's going to be in touch with you afterwards. Is that what he's asking for?
So, Mr. Sanders, for these 3 properties, you would get their license reinstated in order to correct and remedy these, and you'll be in contact with me afterwards.
I'm gonna have the management come up there and take care of anything I have loose in your county. Yes, I will be addressing all the issues.
Yes, sir.
So to have a motion for reinstating his license for the purpose of cleaning up these jobs. That's what it's, you just need to modify, or actually, can you restate, because it was interrupted, can you restate the motion so we'll have it for the record? Sorry about that.
Motion per the request to reinstate the delinquent license, to bring attention to the 3 open properties that need to be remedied.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved for reinstatement for the purpose of taking care of these. Thank you, Mr. Sanders, and we anticipate honor your word and take care of these.
So, Mr. Sanders, your license has been reinstated, sir. And when this meeting is over, I will contact you to follow up on that, sir.
I sure appreciate it, Nick.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next.
Board members, the next applicant is an application for reinstatement of delinquent license, Mr. Michael Carroll. Upon calling yesterday, his secretary informed me she was unsure of his attendance. Mr. Carroll, are you present at the meeting today? Board, it would appear that Mr. Carroll has not been able to attend today.
It's at the board's discretion.
Yeah, look, I feel it's important for them to be here.
Yes, sir.
If they're asking for a license, so.
Absolutely.
If the board's okay with it, can we just set aside anybody that doesn't show up and the staff advise them that they have to be present for us to consider it?
Is that on a reinstatement?
Sorry, yes.
On reinstatements? You probably need to handle that on a case-by-case basis.
Case-by-case, yeah.
Because we never know if someone's not showing up because of a good reason.
Or a
You
bad
know,
reason.
the weather, the highway, the interstate. You know, so
do we
on a
know-
case-by-case
Yeah, do we
basis.
know the reason for,
He was actually scheduled to be here in January as an add-on. We went above and beyond for Mr. Carroll to ensure that that took place. Initially, I had let him know that it would be today's date. At the last minute, he did cancel, stating a family emergency. Yesterday, I was only able to make contact with his secretary, who said he may or may not be in attendance. I was not able to reach him directly. But this would be technically the second time now that he's not been in attendance.
Do I have a motion to table the application till further notice?
yeah, I'll make a motion to table the application until further notice.
I second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved to table to a future time. Now we finally get to number 5.
Very good. So finally, board members, this is Mr. Robert Bose. He is coming before you requesting permission to qualify an additional entity. Mr. Bose, if you would please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, sir.
Robert Bose, 135 Terry Drive, Pensacola, Florida, 32503.
Good to
board
see you,
mem-
Mr. Bose.
Good to see you too.
Board members, Mr. Mason has passed out the application to you as it was approved as an add-on. You will find his application to qualify the additional entity with the corresponding documents of his business tax receipt, articles of organization from the Division of Corporations, as well as the insurance policy for Storm Force Shutter Solutions LLC, which is the business that they will be qualifying.
So while everybody is looking over the information provided, I just want to ask you a couple questions real
Yes, sir.
quick. Or should anything you want to tell us first before
We opened Precision Door Service 10 and a half years ago here in Escambia County. We've since expanded from Tallahassee to Lafayette. We have 130 employees. We initially started doing shutters inside of the Precision Door franchise. And as we were required by Neighborly, which is just owns Precision Door now, we decided to separate it from the garage door side. So that's why we're asking for the license on that.
So you've been in business for 10 and a half years
Yes, sir.
successfully in
Yes,
our
sir.
area, and you're just expanding is what you're doing for another
Yes.
company and qualifying for that under your license?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions? This might be the first straightforward one we have today.
I'm making a motion to approve the applicant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Ms. Bose. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you,
good day.
guys. Thanks for your time.
And board members, that will conclude our applications for this portion of this meeting.
Good deal. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Usually contractor applications is not contentious.
I
I'm
feel
just
like we
gonna
need
say.
feel like we need a break after
Woo.
this. Good
We need a
Lord.
break. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Security, for being here today. Thank you for that. And,
So we're going to move into item
still moving?
8.1. It's Mighty Tran doing business as the M&H Construction Services LLC. State registered license number RG 291103748. Contractor Competency Board complaint number 220686COM. It's in regard to Lin Yang Lee doing business as Let's Meet Korean Barbecue LLC. This complainant is in regard to 6235 North Davis Highway, Pensacola, Florida, 32504. So as you can recall, this initial complaint, you can tell by the complaint number, came to us back in 2022. It did proceed to disciplinary, and a final order was rendered by the board. That final order kind of was put on, in a way, a hold because the parties had entered into a confidential settlement agreement, and this board was just waiting to see how that panned out. We did have a meeting scheduled a few months ago for failure to comply with that final order because the complainant advised that that confidential settlement order had not been adhered to. And so this board at that time determined to bring this case back for further review and possible further disciplinary action. This has been continued a couple of times. It was requested a continuance in December, and then also in January. Parties were out of the country, just couldn't make it, so now we're here today. I believe Mr. Hattler has a request to make of the board. He did talk to me yesterday, and I told him he needed to address that with the board. So if you want to hear that first before we go any further, it's up to you.
And this is the counsel for the complainant, right?
That is correct. This is counsel for
Make sure.
Mr. Tran.
Oh, for Mr. Tran? The licensee,
Yes.
not the complainant.
And Mr. Lee
what I
is
make sure.
present today. The complainant is present.
I thought, yeah,
Yeah.
just making sure here, right.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Ryan Hattler, 2908 East DeSoto Street, on behalf of the licensee, Mr. Tran, and M&H Construction Services. Does the board have the email that I provided?
I actually have it right here, if the board would like to
Please.
have that email.
Thank you. Yes, it's a short email, and while it's being handed out, I can give you the nutshell of what the contents are. We had been working on a settlement proposal that would hopefully amicably resolve everything, and I spoke with the complainant's counsel yesterday and discussed the terms of that proposal with him. And as you can see from the email, I left that conversation under the impression that Mr. Lee was in China and would obviously not be able to make it to this meeting today. And so I came prepared to request a rescheduling to the March meeting. So I'm here solely for that limited purpose today. It was a surprise to me when Mr. Lee walked through the door. He is obviously here today. So I guess I would make this request for rescheduling based, number one, on my understanding that the complainant would not be physically present today and did not prepare to put on a full defense of the case, if that's what my client would like me to do. And second of all, to give time for consideration of an amicable resolution. If in the next 30 days, we'll know whether or not these parties are going to agree to a proposal or not. And if not, this can always come back next month for the disciplinary hearing to go forward. And if there is an agreement reached, then obviously that would, the terms of the agreement, although confidential, would resolve everything between the parties.
Just for clarification, you're representing Mr. Tran?
Correct, yes, sir.
So is he the one that's in China?
No, sir. No, it was,
The
I spoke
email
with Mr.
says-
Lee's attorney yesterday.
The email says my client is in China currently.
That's Mr. Dan Green, counsel for Mr. Lee. And so I spoke with Mr. Lee's attorney yesterday regarding the settlement proposal.
Oh, I'm
because
sorry, this is from Dan Green,
It's
not from
okay.
you, I'm sorry.
It's okay, you just
It
got the
took me a
email
second
and-
to find it, gotcha.
So Mr. Green yesterday said, okay,
Right.
this is interesting, and I'll
Right.
definitely discuss it with my client, but
Right.
he's in China, it's a 12-hour
I
time
got you.
difference, there's
I
no
got
way
you
I
now.
can get to you. And I said, okay. And I did reach out to Ms. Hampton and say, it's my understanding, based on a discussion with Mr. Lee's attorney, that he's in China, he won't be there, can we push this? And she said, I needed to show up to make this request in person, and here I am.
That's what you're doing?
Yes, sir.
And to your surprise?
Yes, it was a big surprise, yes, sir.
Okay. So,
Okay.
basically what you're telling us is that there is an agreement that's being hashed out still at this moment,
That I've discussed with Mr. Lee's attorney, yes.
Mr. Green? Gotcha, okay. All right, thank you for telling us this. Mr. Lee, would you like to approach us today?
name is Lin Yang Li. My address will be 1029 Black Walnut Trail, Pensacola, Florida, 32514. Yeah, for my part, I want to thank you for the board. I believe that here is the only one I can find the right and the true and the place for me. It's really fire for me. And second, I want to talk about this case is, you can see it's going to the couple years. When the first time we meet him, give him money is from the 2018. Yeah, it's a long, really long, it's a couple years. Even go back to the case, it's 2020, since 2020 is 5 years already. I'm already done for this one. And on the courthouse, they make the final judge on the 2 or 3 months ago, I believe, already sent out by email, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got time to respond, but he never, until now, officially no reason. I didn't hear anything from my attorney or lawyer. He said he just contracted my lawyer yesterday because I think he's scared he's scared to lose his license. That's why he just want to more time, you know. Until today, the morning, his lawyer say if you don't agree the settlement, you can get money. I say I already lose everything. I lose my restaurant, I lose my wife, I lose my case. I'm nothing to lose. It's for real. You can follow the public record. You can see what's going on right there. And I give my half my house, everything, go to my actual wife, and I use SBA the money to pay my train to fix my restaurant, but he never done the job. That's what's happened. And I gave him the couple times chance. We go to the courthouse. We make the settlement agreement. He never finished. He never paid him all. He just paid not enough. I give it, even the courthouse gave him the final judge. It's 2 months ago. He didn't say anything until today. So I want to hear maybe you have some suggest. What should I do, or maybe just stop his license? You know. I'm done for this game. It's not like it's over like $100,000, and it's over like 7 years, no 7 months. 7 weeks, it's a 7 year. It's almost like my half life right here. Yeah. So
there was a judgment there was a judgment that was in the court system.
That was October 8th, 2024, correct?
Yes.
Right.
And the amount of 121,000?
Yeah.
121,000?
Yeah,
that was the balance due, yes.
Yeah, the totally should be around 140 because he paid some. We just reduce something, and I can't tell you the detail for the settlement agreement. Right. But he still owned over $100,000, didn't pay me. And
Has he made any payments since October 8th?
No, yet. No.
So it's still 121,000.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to.
And also, the last time.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We're there.
The last time we come here, he gave me the reason. He lawyer told my lawyer he want to sell a house. He need more money, more time. And until last time he come to here, he say because my case stop his license, he can do more job. But you can find out it's not my case, it's the other case.
So, Mr. Lee, can I ask you a question? Are you aware that your attorney is negotiating something different with them now? Are you?
No, until the final, my attorney didn't tell me anything from them. Until today morning, I met him on the door. He say, if you don't agree, push more time, you can get my money. I say, I don't care.
So there's a new agreement that.
Not yet.
That is being worked on, from what we're hearing from counsel from Mr. Tran. Are you aware of that? That's what I'm asking you.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I can repeat the question. Sorry, I'm really.
So if I understood counsel correctly from Mr. Tran, the contractor, there is an agreement being worked on now.
No.
Settlement agreement between Mr. Tran and yourself through the attorneys.
No.
You're not aware of this?
No, right now. It's already
Okay.
past due already, the
Okay.
last one, yes.
So you're saying 121 period, I have not received anything,
From-
end of story?
Yes, from
Gotcha,
the
okay.
final,
Okay, for the final judgment?
Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
yes, and also after the final judge, he didn't respond at all. My attorney, my lawyer called him, and
Gotcha.
he didn't, yeah, until today.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Lee? I have a question for Mr. Hatler when we get back.
Have you talked to your attorney?
I talked to my attorney. My attorney said because then didn't respond, maybe we need to fund the company to do some research, see how much money he have, how much money under his company. We can do we can let the courthouse to get his money. We're doing this one right now. Yeah, and until today, he stopped me right there. He said he needed more time.
Who's that now?
His attorney.
Oh, his attorney, okay, so
Yeah.
you haven't spoke to your attorney about it, I got you.
Yeah, and his attorney stalked me today in the morning before the meeting. He say he need more time to keep his license. So we can make some like a sort of agreement. I say I'm done this trip.
Well, I would imagine you're aware that in the United States, when this judgment has been given and it's not fulfilled, that it can go back to court and, you know, further steps can be made to either remedy it, get the money. There's all kinds of things. I'm not going to try to.
Lisa, my opinion is he don't care. He don't care about like the
Well,
courthouse or judge or something. He
and-
care
and
about
that's-
his license.
And that's bad if he doesn't care. But from your perspective, as trying to get your judgment finished, your attorney knows the steps to finish that out.
Yes, right now we
Right.
right now we just like do some research or find out
Right.
how much money he have, but
Right. And that's all in the civil. We're in a different
yeah.
level.
Yeah, I
We're
know.
in the level of trying to figure out for licensing. That's why I'm trying to separate a little bit
yes.
of,
And for my part, he don't scare the courthouse. He's scared about you guys. He want to keep a license. That's why before the meeting one day, he say he can't try my lawyer. What's happened for the last 4 months?
right.
Right?
No, I respect that. I understand that.
Yeah.
Ms. Mary?
Ms. Jennifer, just remind me, so Mr. Tran still has his license?
So his license is currently suspended.
Okay.
It was suspended for a different case.
what I thought.
Actually, on the screen, you'll see his license card. The gray one, has to do with this case, but then the other one, the red one, is where his license was suspended, that case. He currently is at a suspended status. So
He cannot pull
He
permits.
cannot, he hasn't been able to pull permits since April of last year.
Right, right.
And, correct, that's what Christie was just saying, that will be over in April of this year. Actually, it'll be restored April 9th of this year. What the board is going to determine today is if you want to take further disciplinary action on his license for failure to comply with your final
Right.
order. And this specifically pertains to the restitution.
Right. And I was just, correct me, Ms. Christie, but the legal aspect of him obtaining the money is going to be through the civil court with that judgment. We're separate. We're not attached to that judgment, correct?
You're not controlled by the judgment.
Right, that's right, yeah.
So from what I understand from Mr. Hatler, is they're asking for a continuance, from what I understand from Mr. Lee? Is that
Lee.
correct? What is your position on a continuance?
Right now, I want to say stop his license until he's paying me money.
He's already stopped.
Yeah, so he's
Well, he's not stopped in this case.
No,
He
but I'm
has-
talking
he
about
has
as
a-
far as his
He has a
ability to pull
suspended
permits.
license,
Right, right.
which will become active in April.
Right.
But on this case, you haven't reached the decision on
Right.
discipline.
Right.
yeah.
He's asking you
He's
now
asking for
to take
us
his
to do it
license.
on this license.
Yes,
Is that
please.
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, because he don't care.
gotcha.
So because
Thank you, Mr.
my life already growing up, so I lose everything. So nothing to lose. So I'm okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Safe travels.
All right. Yeah, I'm ready to come back.
You're here. I do have a question, Mr. Hatler, though. You had, make sure I heard this correctly. You and Mr. Green have been in contact with each other about another agreement, settlement, I don't know the right words, that
Yeah,
you're,
we're discussing a settlement proposal from my client that I presented to Mr. Green yesterday. I don't believe, based on my brief conversation with Mr. Lee this morning, I don't believe Mr. Green has yet had an opportunity to discuss that directly with Mr. Lee.
Gotcha,
And so I think if we could, give a little more time, maybe we could find an amicable resolution to this whole situation. And if not, again, we could always come back next month and do the disciplinary hearing.
But I think also we do need to listen to Mr. Lee and what he has stated this morning, that
Definitely.
he in no way, shape, or form is open to another settlement. So just to give power to his words.
And Mr. Handler's aware that there's other cases that we
Yes.
do not judge this case by any other cases, but there is another case where his license is already suspended.
Yes, sir, I'm
You're
aware.
aware. I knew you was aware of
In
that.
connection with that case, I will say that I was the attorney representing M&H Construction in the civil lawsuit, and so I was involved in that confidential settlement, that came out of that court case. And I can say, because I have personal knowledge of those settlement payments, that they were made up until last April when his licensing was suspended. And so, to the extent that if I'm understanding Mr. Lee's interest being he wants to get paid his money back, further suspending or revoking Mr. Tran's license would be counter to that goal.
And we understand that principle, but I can tell you, probably, I don't know, maybe not half of us, but there was a group of us here when we had that asked of us, and it was extended, and the person continued to do fraudulent behavior, and there's a big balance where we have to protect the public and not let someone keep going, Ponzi scheming, robbing Peter people. You get more work, you take the money from that job to pay this past job, which create a big nest. So we have to see a big picture, not just making one person whole. We have to see a big picture of how many people will that cost to make one man whole. Does that make sense?
It does.
It does to you, I
And
think.
I completely understand the board's mission in that regard. Yes,
Gotcha. All right. I appreciate you making that clear for us, Mr.
Okay.
Hammond. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I guess, for the record, I should ask if there's going to be a vote on discipline today, then I would need to come back up here as a representative of Mr. Tran and do my best, although I did not prepare a defense, to at least make some comments for the record for that purpose. And if you'd prefer that I do that now, then maybe it makes sense to do that now.
Let's make a discussion first and see where we're headed at. Thank you. Do you have any comments from the board about your thoughts on this? Everybody pretty clear with what's going on? Do we need to talk about the basics of it anymore? I think we've heard this one enough. We know what it is. Do I have any feel from the board?
Would it be an option to suspend the license for, until this gets resolved?
So suspension has guidelines.
Yeah.
You would have to set the parameters. I think suspension is for 1 to 3 years. It can't be less than a year. So it's at the discretion of the board. Suspension has guidelines and revocation has guidelines of how long of a period of time it can go for.
And also, if you suspend at this time, that will be your discipline. So if he fails to make those payments or fulfill the judgment that he already had the opportunity to fulfill, if he fails to fulfill that, then you have no further action. You could not come back on his license with a suspension and say, okay, we're going to punish you some more. So today if you make the decision for how you're going to punish, and it is a punishment, it is an action against his license. So if you make that decision today, that is the decision that you have to remain with. So whether MyTran pays that money, you're not going to get another bite at that apple after the decision, whether you make that decision today or in the future. You don't get a second bite once the discipline is entered.
So if we did do a continuance for a month and there was a resolution made and he didn't follow through, we could, go at a discipline based on that. If
Right.
not, if we do a discipline today, whatever happens next 30 days doesn't really matter.
Keeping in mind, they're not going to provide you the conditions of what that is
No,
happening in
no.
that agreement.
Right.
So I caution you from basing your decision
Right.
on something that you don't even get to see.
Right, I follow you. I follow you.
That's, and, we have to be very careful about public record here.
Right.
And so if it's something that you're basing your decision on, then the public has a right to see it.
Right. A little bit of a tough situation.
So I'm
And I
not-
do
I'm
want
not-
to draw the board's attention to, within his suspension from the other case, he did have the ability to finish out any open projects. While discussion was going on, I did review his associated permits to his license. He does have some open projects still. Not all projects under his license are at a closed status. So just
He
another
still has
piece of
projects
information.
to finish up. That's, okay. Mr. Paul?
Do we have the option of staying this for 30 days? And if a resolution that's acceptable to Mr. Lee has not been made, then suspend this license?
So what's before the board? So that would be a motion for the board to determine whether or not they want to continue with these proceedings. So that would be a motion and decision. It is an option, and you could do it at a future date. At that time, the decision would be whether or not to suspend or to terminate his license. Those are the two options, or take no action against his license. I mean, those are all options before the board. So first, you got to determine if you want to make the decision today. If you decide you want to make the decision today, then I think Mr. Hattler wanted to be heard on that question. So, and then beyond that, then you would go to the motion decision about whether or not you want to, how you want to handle the
First
license
option is
question.
for continuance, second option would be for discipline.
Can I ask Mr. Hattler a question again?
Sure.
Is there some reason that there has not been any payments made to Mr. Lee whatsoever? I mean, you guys have had plenty of time.
Well, I can't speak directly for my client on the payment, non-payment issue, but I can tell you, again, as being the attorney involved previously, when Mr. Tran did have his permitting privileges, payments were regularly being made under that confidential settlement. The payments stopped when his permitting privileges were suspended last April.
To Mr. Lee?
Payments were made to Mr. Lee, yes, regularly under $19,000 worth of payments, as I recall the number.
Was
were made
one
to
payment.
Mr. Lee.
One payment of
One
19,000.
payment was made.
And just to
No, that's
compound
incorrect.
on,
According to the record, it was one
Yeah.
payment.
and just to compound
Where?
on
What
her
record?
question there, Jennifer, did you not state that there are open permits for him to complete to continue to make
So on-
means and payments to Mr. Lee?
On your screen, you will see his
Of
permitting history.
Speculating that he would make those payments to Mr. Lee.
There are several on the screen I'm scrolling through that still say permit issued.
So he did have the ability to make money and
And-
have those permits open, correct? Okay.
And Mr. Lister, again, I was involved with some of those payments, and so I know personally it was not just a one-time
Ms.
lump sum
Jennifer?
payment of $19,000.
She's busy right this second. Ms. Jennifer, could you please go to the packet and pull up the judgment in civil case submitted by complainant?
This one?
Yes, ma'am. And scroll down, and the date was filed up there, 10/8/2024. You see that, Mr. Red? You see that at the top?
You asking me? Yes, sir, I'm
sir.
familiar with this
Ms. Haddon.
document.
Okay, if you scroll down just a little bit more, it says on number 2 there that it was 140,000 minus payments of 19,000 for a balance of 121.
Correct.
That's
Payments.
reflecting one payment from what I can see as of October.
It says payments, sir.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not being disrespectful. it
No,
just-
no, I'm
it
saying
says
it's been a
payments.
total of 19,000.
In payments, yes.
Right.
Multiple payments of
Gotcha.
less than 19,000 were made for a
So
total
it's
of
still
19,000.
121 owed as of now.
Yes, sir. And
That's
my
what I-
point was, he had made payments regularly as required by the confidential settlement agreement up until his permitting privileges were suspended in April.
My
And then-
misunderstanding, I thought you said payments of 19,000. That's what it was. It was
No,
only
payments
119.
totaling
Gotcha,
19,000.
gotcha,
Okay,
okay.
just for the record, Jennifer, was his permitting revoked on October 8th of 2024 or any time around there?
No, ma'am. They actually, his permitting privileges,
Prior,
his
correct?
license was suspended in April.
Last April.
Of 2024. Okay, so then he was able to make $19,000 in payments from April to October, speculating that it was during that period of time. So just wanting that for the record.
I don't think that's what the attorney is telling you. I think he's telling you that up until April, April of 2024, right, that's when he suspended. He's saying that up until April of 2024, he had made $19,000 in payment. When his license suspended, then he did not make any further payments.
But he still had permits open that he was able to work,
That
to
is what
make
the
payments.
That is what the record that Jennifer showed you reflects. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And on that point, I believe that at the time of the suspension, there were some comments made to Mr. Tran along the lines of, look, clean up the projects you have going right now, finish them up satisfactorily, and then you can always come back to the board and ask for reinstatement at that point. I believe he did that during late summer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't recall being present for that hearing.
I don't recall him coming back and asking for a reinstatement of his license, but if he's had these open jobs since April of '24, here we are, February 25, and he has made no attempt in making any payments, what's going to change between now and holding up for a month? I mean, he's still got these jobs that are pending. He could finish them off or advance them and make good faith on his payment and continue making the payments. But I don't see what's going to change between now and pushing it off for a month. I mean, has he got money that nobody's aware of? But
Well,
maybe you know this.
Two things, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Hampton, but as I recall from watching the meeting where the license was suspended, I believe there were 2 or 3 specific projects that were referenced in that meeting where the board said, finish those up satisfactorily, then you can come back and ask for reinstatement. And my understanding is those were satisfactorily completed and closed out. And so today's the first time I'm hearing about other open permits. I do know that there are some projects that Mr. Tran is involved with that are not on behalf of customers, but are in cooperation with partners. And so that may be what that is. Maybe those were and I'm speculating, but that would explain it. Maybe those are in progress projects that he's waiting to resume once his permitting privileges are reinstated. And to your point, Mr. Patel, I can't go into detail because the settlement proposal I discussed with Mr. Lee's attorney yesterday is also confidential. I can say, generally speaking, without disclosing too much detail, I think, though, the main difference and the critically important difference is the proposal under discussion involves secured interest in a couple of projects that would resume when Mr. Tran's permitting privileges are reinstated, similar to basically like a mortgage. And so it doesn't depend on other customers or anything like that. It would be, again, one of these projects that Mr. Tran is involved in conjunction with a partner.
So it's conditioned, again, based on what you're saying, so it's going to be conditioned whether or not this board allows him to do business in Escambia County.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Mr. Lee's being repaid is obviously connected to Mr. Tran being able to continue doing work and making money. Yes, sir.
Right. We can look at the transcript. I believe it was April of last year. The transcript can be pulled up, and we can look at specifically, Jennifer can pull that up, and you can specifically look at what you're
Yeah, while you're looking that up, I personally don't like to be put in a position where, a contractor or subcontractors had many violation and not did according to, what needs to be done, and they come back and say, well, I'll do right, but you're gonna have to keep continuing to employ me. That's not a good position to put us in. He made the mistake. He did whatever he did to take Peter to pay Paul, whatever he didn't do the job right. He needs to stand up and he needs to be mad about it and say, you know what, I'll handle these. but not bring it to this board to say, well, whether or not we continue to have him do business in Escambia County. If that was the case, everybody'd line up out the door and say, well, I made a mistake, and, you know, I need you to continue keeping me employed in order for me to do good.
And I can respect that. I guess I need to go on record to the extent that I can, and, you know, raise some comments or objections, you know, to the extent I can in defense of Mr. Tran for, you know, purposes of this disciplinary hearing. The first objection I would raise would be with respect to jurisdiction. I'm not sure that this board has continuing jurisdiction because the original order that the board, the final order that the board entered is more than a year old. And I believe jurisdiction by this board was lost after the 1-year period last year. And so that would be my first objection for the record.
Well, we have counsel here that can determine that. We're not attorneys sitting on this panel, so.
Of course, these
Yeah.
are just for the record, Mr.
Yeah.
Patel, not directed at you.
Yeah, we'll
certainly
let counsel address that.
The other objection I would make is, again, based on the email provided to you this morning, we were under the impression that Mr. Lee was in China, would not be here, and so presumably the disciplinary hearing would not be going forward if the complainant is not here. And so I think that a continuance is warranted on that ground. The final comment I'll make is, and granted, with the caveat, I don't represent all of my clients on all of their matters. And so I can tell you, of the 2 or maybe 3 disciplinary issues that have come before this board, you know, involving Mr. Tran, for instance, the Brewer complaint where the suspension was entered last year, I believe Mr. Tran has complied with all of the disciplinary actions, you know, put against him in that case. I believe there was one prior case a few years ago that I'm aware of, and again, I believe that Mr. Tran did everything that was required in that case. With respect to this case, the one that's lingering, and the one that I believe may have a jurisdiction issue, I believe if you look at the origin of the case, again, I don't recall being the representative at that disciplinary hearing, but I believe that discipline against Mr. Tran was entered without him even being present. And so I don't believe any defense was put on for Mr. Tran by him or me or anyone else at that disciplinary hearing. So the whole origin of this case is based on basically a ruling in absentia where no defense at all was put on. So,
But Mr. Hadler, excuse me for interrupting, y'all had the opportunity to be here and you were notified of the meeting. So while you were not here, that's not on us.
no,
Just
and
for the record.
I'm not saying that the board did anything wrong. I'm, you know, again, just
Right.
trying to, you know, note for the record the context of everything.
Right.
I'm not aware of any other case that I know of involving Mr. Tran's licensure where he did not fully comply with what the board, you know, required him to do.
Is Mr. Tran, is he working in other counties currently?
I don't know the answer to that.
Does he have
as
any
I
other
sit here.
entities that he works under or holds?
I don't know of any other than M&H Construction.
Does the admin know?
Well, his license is under his personal name, so if he had a separate company, it would still, it would still fight, yeah. Yeah,
So
that's true.
although he is,
That's true.
has a suspended license in Escambia County, that doesn't preempt him from wherever he's reciprocated his license, doing
Right.
business there, even the city limits. They do not have to uphold this board's determinations. They get to pick and choose whether they, like within our county ordinance, if a contractor is found in violation in another jurisdiction, our board can uphold that here after notice and hearing. So I have not received any confirmation from any other jurisdiction that they have also not allowed him to work in any other jurisdiction. Normally, we would receive that, especially from Santa Rosa. They let us know immediately if they've taken further action.
Gotcha. Mr. Paul?
Is there a way, and we might have just answered that, to find out if there's any other licenses that he qualifies in Escambia County?
There is. Actually, you can find out if there's any other licenses he has in the state. You can easily search on the state And I'll bring that up on my screen for you. You just simply verify a license, last name. Give it a moment to search. So here is, there's quite a few my trans. Let's go back and put in a middle initial. Maybe that will help. So you'll see here where he's a registered general contractor. He does have another registered license that's delinquent. So it looks like he does have two licenses. One on Fairfield and one on 9 Mile.
And one of them's current and active. Does that mean he's able to pull permits?
So this is state registrations. The license number that we have here is the RG 291103748. So that's this one that his registration is current with the state, meaning he's paid his fees and all.
It's just permit privileges.
I don't have this license number, so I would have to do
I
some
don't-
research into that.
Okay.
And find out where he got that one from. Because usually you register from the state from a local jurisdiction, supporting them to exam, they get issued a license, and then they register that with the state. So I would need to do further research on that one.
So he would be able to, if he has a state license, he'd be able to work in Santa Rosa County and, any other county besides Escambia, is that right?
He doesn't have a state license. He has a local issued license, and it's
Okay.
registered with the state. He can reciprocate that license. So here is actually that other license, Watan Construction LLC, and it's also inactive. Let's find it. Sorry. That looks like that one, he just has not renewed it since 2022. Let's see how.
Is there any discipline action against that license?
No, you can see there's very minimal information in here from 2022. He did he qualified an additional entity back then, but there's not been any further action with it, really. So he took his initial license and qualified the additional entity of Watan Construction, and there's minimal permitting in there. Yes.
And just to keep the record clear, the items that she's pulling up on your screen, these are public records. So it
This
would
is
be
all
something that
public
would be available for anybody to review.
But as I said earlier, just because this board has taken action against any license that he hold, it doesn't prohibit him from working in any other jurisdiction.
Understood.
And just since we're making clarifications and speaking on the record, just to make a note that there was already a notice of the continued disciplinary hearing, and that was on January 9th of 2025. And this has been ongoing. Correct? Question mark?
So you're talking about that notice of continued?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, this came before this board during a public forum quite some time ago. And then we had to review of how this would be presented to the board. And it actually, at that time, it was determined that the final order had not been fulfilled. It got continued and pushed down the line because there was a confidential settlement agreement. And then we received notice that that wasn't abided by. And that's when it was determined that this board would bring it back for noncompliance with that final order. And then there were some continuances.
So we're back to,
She has been able to pull the transcript from the April meeting, and she can pull
Okay.
that page for you so that we can be clear on what the language was instead of relying on our memories.
You said 246.
Yeah.
So here, at the bottom of page 246, Mr. Lister, you made the comment, right, finish all these jobs that's open, that you keep pulling money from here and rob Peter to pay Paul, we call it. In other words, all this you keep doing, you've got to stop it, you've got to get it together, get them taken care of, and then you just keep right on going. You can be in business 20 years from now, 50 years from now. We don't care, but we don't want you to keep taking advantage of our citizens. Mr. Tran, okay, so let me understand. Clear all the permits I have open, close it, finish it. And then Mr. Lister, and then you're good to go. Mr. Tran, then I can pull new permits, question mark. Mr. Lister, you can go pull brand new permits. And then I made the correction about the suspension. He has a suspension of permitting privileges for 1 year. Mr. Lister, well, I would say if you get all that taken care of and come back and see us, we'll talk to you.
So for the record, it wasn't a specific 3 or 4 jobs.
It was
He
not.
said all encompassing all jobs.
That's right.
and he said the next statement, let me finish and I'll come back.
Mm-hmm. And then you confirm we'll talk to you about
Right,
it.
right.
He continues on to say that he had 2 jobs already signed up, that he was about to put in permits for. And you let him know that he needs to hurry up and get these all taken care of and come back.
Is there something earlier? My memory is not perfect, and certainly I don't seem to be getting better by the year with my memory, but I could have sworn that there was some reference to specific jobs. But I'll just say, generally speaking, to the extent there are other permits open, and they are for customers, then I believe Mr. Tran, we'll get those taken care of.
He could still be working. The essence is, he could still be working, making money, making payments, and if he showed us good faith, I think we're pretty reasonable. But if you're not gonna do it, if you're gonna say, well, my license is suspended, I'm not paying you no more, that's not what we said in here.
But
Well,
that's what was discussed in this meeting,
It was
too.
discussed that he could
Right,
finish.
so back in April, he was told that he could continue
That's right.
working to then make good faith payments. And
And
he
he
said,
said
okay.
okay.
And
Just so I can clear the language, because this is where it gets confusing. You didn't suspend his license, you suspended his permitting.
Permit privilege, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we just need to keep the
That's- yeah,
language
yeah, that-
clear on that. The
yeah.
license is not suspended, and I think maybe the language that's within our
Yeah, no.
board page is confused, our online page is confusing.
Yes,
And-
yes,
and I
ma'am, Ms.
do-
Christie. Yes,
I
ma'am.
do believe Mr. Tran came back, and somebody mentioned public forum. It may have been during a public forum, around July or August or sometime in that timeframe. Again, I wasn't here representing Mr. Tran, but I recall through discussions with my client where he came here under a public forum, to come back to the board and say, hey, I closed out those the open permits for customers, and I'd like to have my permitting privileges reinstated. If I remember correctly, I think Ms. Brewer showed up at that meeting as well to oppose that, and I think that's when the board basically said, no, we're not gonna do that. You have to
I
send
do
the
remember a
license.
public forum, I can look for those notes on that as well. The problem with the public forum is he has to get on the agenda so that there's notice to the public. And so if he didn't go through the process of getting on the agenda to be an agenda item like we are today, then they couldn't have addressed it.
We can pull it up really quick, because we have a great secretary.
Yes, you do.
That didn't make him.
I guess, you know, from my standpoint, all that is to say that Mr. Tran has been trying, and I think showing good faith. You know, the board's decisions are the board's decisions. I don't take issue with that, but I do believe that Mr. Tran has been trying. And as far as being able to do other work, I don't know about that. I know if somebody told me I couldn't be a lawyer tomorrow, you know, I'd have a hard time.
Paying your bills,
You know,
yes,
paying
sir.
the same bills, yes, sir.
We're, you know, again, from our point of view, you have to understand that knowing that he's in the arrear, 120,000, the next jobs that he gets, you know, is he gonna be behind on those? Because, you know, he's trying to overcompensate on one job to pay the other job, and that's an accident waiting to happen. So, you know, again, being in the industry, we know what happens when you're already behind on payments or already owe for a job that hasn't been completed.
Sure.
So we have to make sure that doesn't happen. And even though he came and he may have been in public forum, he hasn't made good on what he said he was going to do. And I'll ask this question again, if we make a decision here or not. I'm not sure what's going to change between now and 30 days from now. But
Well, if Mr. Lee's attorney can discuss the specifics of the deal he and I, you know, discussed yesterday, and Mr. Lee changes his mind, then that will be resolved. And if not, again, we can
But
certainly.
you heard from Mr. Lee, he's like, you know, he's not listening to his attorney, or he's in decision, he hires the attorney, so he's got to tell the attorney what to do. So if he's going to tell the attorney, same thing he's telling us. then we have to take
That's
that into
true.
consideration.
Well, that's possible. I will say, though, as an attorney myself and having done this for a long time, part of what our clients pay us for is to counsel them and persuade them as to what the right thing might be.
It's the best interest, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Want to come to a conclusion here.
Well, while we're reviewing that, I mean, how does the board feel? I know it's a 30-day period, and whether or not commitments that were made, has commitments been made, and I'd like to hear from everybody.
I second that.
I'm sorry for the court reporter. I was saying, why don't we ask Mr. Lee?
Yeah, he's already told us.
Yes.
Mr. Lee, would you feel about us continuing this for 30 days? What is your opinion, or what would?
Actually, I gave him too many chances. Yeah, it's not like a 30 day. I gave him couple years. Even the last time, and also I have a couple things I need to clear. The first thing is, like he say he believe my attorney told to me I will be show up, I will no show up or something like that, or maybe something. But the truth is I got nothing. I didn't hear my attorney say nothing since last time final judge. So, and the second I talked to the Jennifer on the email. I told him I'll be show up on February. You can see on the email. And the third about I give him too many chances. Right, and because he's pay me the final check should be on the last year in the summer, no August. The why show on the August? Because I let my lawyer go to the courthouse. The courthouse give the final thing, the blah blah like that. That's why the final is on August. But actually, I give him the 2 year to make. Actually, the 1.5 year to make a payment. But finally, you can see the number, not enough 20,000. So how much I pay him totally is over $200,000 to him. Reduce what he do, what he pay. The final number is like 140, right? So I give him, and also every time he give me the reason is different. Like last time he told me he work on the house. He want to sell a house, pay me the final bill, but he never. So I don't give him the more 30 days. I'm done. My life is already like that. Why you still? I'm already lose my restaurant. I lose my kids. I lose my actual wife. Everything, because this number, because this restaurant, because this project, because this call, this like It's never end. It's never end.
I hate that. We're,
Yeah, I
we're
hate
trying to
that
come
too.
to a resolve. Ms. Christie, can I ask you a question to kind of lead the board here to something maybe? His license is suspended currently until April of this year. Is that what I saw?
His permitting privileges
Permitting
are
privilege,
suspended.
I'm sorry, permitting
sir.
privilege. If we today suspended his permitting privilege for another year, it would be no different than doing it a month from now, because the next 2 months, we're in February, March, April, he still is suspended as of right now. Is that correct?
So what you're asking is if you suspend it, you want to make it consecutive to the current?
I'm just saying, if we done that action I'm looking at two options: no action today and wait 30 days, or versus doing action today. If we waited 30 days, it's not going to change the fact that his permanent privilege is still suspended.
Correct.
So if we act today or 30 days from now, that will not affect that.
Right.
Now, if we went further and just revoked his license, obviously that ends the whole story.
Yes, sir.
So we have the option of suspending, and even if we waited 30 days from now, it's not going to change the fact that he's not able to do anything right now.
Well, he wouldn't be able to pull any permits. He still has projects. Yes, sir.
Right, but if we suspend it today or 30 days from now, it's already suspended, so that's not going to change that part. It's just a matter of, are we looking for suspension or revoking? And if we revoke, then that would be, it don't matter if we do it today or 30 days, that's it, period. But suspension today is not going to change from suspending 30 days from now. It's already suspended. Permanent privileges.
Right. It's not going to be different in 30 days.
Right. So I'm saying that to the board to say that I'm not suggesting we wait 30 days. I'm suggesting if we do wait 30 days, it's not going to change the fact that his license privileges, his permitting privileges is suspended as of right now. 30 days from now won't matter. It's already suspended. If we revoke today, obviously that's going to end the story. He won't be able to work in the county no more. Just kind of for clarification of where we can go here with this.
What may be important too is that the open permits that he has, he could finish those permits even at this time with a revoked license, the county would allow him to finish?
The board has historically allowed that.
We can, make that decision as a part of the,
So if you permanently revoke, which is not exactly permanent, you may need to know that information as well, if you want to
does
consider
everybody
that.
understand what was just? So his license is suspended right now. We can make decision there, we can make decision in 30 days.
So in
Not
30
license, his permitting privileges. I keep saying that incorrectly.
It's okay. In 30 days, the difference would be you would have to bring, you would have your victim to come back.
Right.
You would have the attorney come back.
Right.
And you would have the expenditure that you've already had multiple times in this case.
Right.
Of county time. And,
Right.
I mean, that's the only difference, is
Right.
that you're setting up a situation where everybody comes back to make to make a decision that you could decide to make today. But that's up to the board. It's
Right,
completely
right.
up to you. I just,
Right.
when you ask me what's
No,
different,
that's what I'm
that is what's
asking for.
different.
That's
what I'm
actually
asking.
what I was gonna bring up too, that it's gonna be the same thing. 30 days there's really no difference.
Very little's going to change.
Right, and
It
making the decision
appears.
today, because there's already been continuances that have happened, so I mean, we could come to a final conclusion today.
What I do understand from what the attorney's saying is that the restitution is based on whether or not he gets his ability to pull permits. As far as the settlement is going to be based on whether or not he has the ability to pull permits.
But just for the record, he's had the ability to work on all open permits to continue to make money, correct?
According to the record that Jennifer was able to pull up from public record.
For a while.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would think the same thing would be consistent. It would be the board's discretion that if we did suspend today for another year, permanent privileges, just if, that if he did resolve this situation, that he is welcome to come back and we would be open to see what, possibilities. The board has that discretion, is that correct? Can we end a suspension?
Right, you can always exercise your discretion
Right.
to end a suspension.
So-
But what you cannot do is make a decision today of suspension or revocation and then come back at a later time and add to that.
Right, right. We
Whenever
can-
that decision is made, it's your final decision.
Does everybody understand? So if we did suspend permanent privileges for another year, or whatever we did, he suspended his license for a year, and he made these things correct, he has the ability to come back and, you know, in good faith, we can make a decision at that point.
So I want to make sure we're still on, we keep it clear. Your permitting privileges is one thing. If you
License
suspend that
separate.
license,
Right.
he cannot finish the jobs he has open.
Right.
So that's the distinction. So make sure that when you make this,
Right.
whoever makes the motion, whatever their position is, that they're clear between those two things, whether or not it's the license or the permitting privileges that the
Right.
action is being taken.
And Mr. Tyler, at that point, he could come back if this thing was resolved in 30 days. He could come back and we can review that suspension if we chose to.
And just a question real quick, are there 3 counts today that we would be deliberating on?
We are not deliberating on any counts.
counts? Okay,
That's-
so it would
That was
just be
already
pure
taken care of.
Yeah, that's
It's
already
just a
been-
matter of restitution.
Right.
And just one point of clarification based on something Ms. Luna said. Again, I have to be careful about what I'm discussing
Details.
with Mr. Lee's attorney currently, but I think I'm safe in saying the projects that we are discussing being involved do not have permits. So they were in plan, they were about to have permits pulled, and, you know, when Mr. Tran had his permitting privileges suspended. And so the idea is he gets his permitting privileges back and then can pull permits on the projects that are under discussion, and that is part of how, you know, Mr. Lee is
Yeah,
proposed to.
that's a dangle the carrot. I don't know if we have an
Yeah, I don't
appetite
think
for
we-
that.
yeah.
Well,
He's
again,
done been too far
again,
down the
without-
road for that.
again,
Let me
without-
slow you down.
without-
Only one of you can talk at a time. We have a court reporter taking everything down, so.
And without, again, I'm trying to be very careful, but also be forthright with the board. There is a big difference here, a big difference. A secured interest in property is a meaningful legal right. It's like the mortgage on your house. The mortgage on your house is real,
Mr.
and it
Hadler,
is powerful. And so-
thank
and
you
so-
for explaining, we're aware of that.
So to
Our
the-
concern is all these months of not making payments, and he had the open permits that he could have been working on, is not showing us good faith that he might even do that on another one. Even if he has some legal paper, it don't matter to him because he's got stuff against him, judgments against him right now,
And,
so.
and again, these other open permits are news to me today, which again, for the record, you know, I guess I need to state, warrants a continuance of 30 days so Mr. Tran can look into these open permits and at least provide a response to the board as to whether, you know, as to what they are. Because my understanding in talking with Mr. Tran was he had taken care of everything that needed to be taken care of and, you know, came back to the board. So it's news to me today that there are other permits that, you know,
It
that
should be
cause the
news to
board
him.
concern.
You've read the transcripts, it was very clear to him.
And if I can just state for the record, again, you're behind closed doors negotiating, so coming from my point of view, and the board can speak for itself, let's be sure that it's not contingent upon us providing access to the contractor to do additional jobs. We'll make our decision, or I'll make my decision based on what we decide on today, and if we push it back 30 days that day. But it should not come back where it's contingent upon, you know, he's gonna get to re-get his license in order to do those jobs, in order to compensate.
Well-
That's just for the record. I just wanted, you don't have to respond to that, but just to let you know, because you've made the statement that, you know, you just heard today that it was going to be based on him providing jobs and what jobs he's got in his pipeline and all that stuff. I want to be clear also that we're making a decision based on this case, not on additional jobs that he's got and how he's going to pay him. That's it. It's his decision how he pays him. But to make that decision, we'll make it, or I'll make it at that point in time. So just kind of wanted to state that for the record.
And I'll just say, obviously, he
Can we-
needs to continue working to be able to pay anyone, and so.
Can we hold just a moment? Our court reporter needs a quick break.
Sure, yes. Understand.
Yep, sir.
Run out of paper.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Can we take this like a 5-minute break real quick? Recess.
I've searched every single one of them. Basically, I think it's the same thing.
It's, that's not on, is it?
We're not talking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not on. But you don't read it, or you have it?
Like for real.
Was it not the September 4 meeting? I was just looking at my emails.
So I have searched those minutes, and I've searched every one from last year. Hold on just a moment. Did he just walk out there?
I'm sorry. Oh, yes, he did. Employees are only allowed to be on that point.
And none of them are employees.
Reading is
Okay, so
hard to
January 4th, September.
Well, they're not even employees, they can't invite you back there. They don't have privileges.
They don't, but they are
I
an
know
officer.
Mr. Perez came to that meeting, and he had a long public forum,
Don't make
because that
me.
was a different
Don't make me.
contract. But I have not located it.
That's weird.
And he may have come to the meeting, I think I recall seeing him come to the meeting. But I don't know that he
remember him.
Yeah.
I know, isn't that weird? I remember it too, I just can't figure it out.
When I get home, I'll watch the video. Maybe it
Yes,
just,
maybe he didn't speak, I don't know, but, and I would think that that would have been the appropriate one that he would have come to.
Yeah,
But,
because I sent you an email, and that's how I knew, because I sent you an email saying he plans to be there tomorrow, I can't be there, but,
right,
and so,
yeah.
There we go. I just need one of
I
these.
don't know.
Does that work?
well, if it's not in the record, it's not in the record.
Yeah, I can't locate it.
I laughed, I'm like, I had a full battery when I got here, I thought I'll be fine.
And I, believe me, it was bothering me.
I
because
know,
I'm like,
when my memory is one thing and the record's something different,
and then I was like, well, let me just search the whole year.
Yeah.
And the only one where he actually comes up is The April.
April, yeah.
That's what I have.
I don't trust
Yeah, because you
No.
even had messages from.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I trust it a little bit less every year.
As time progresses, less.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, often I'm like, what day is it? I just go by it ends in Y. I don't even know how old I am. Thankfully, thankfully.
How you doing, Mr. Attorney?
All right.
Doing good?
Yep.
Good deal. Yep. The last legislation session, that I went to, I went to all the state, house reps. I got up early, drove to Tallahassee, I said, and everyone, what do you want done? I said, you know what? I said, I got up early this morning, I know how to solve the problem.
In the midst of everything.
And they said, what problem? I said, all our problem. And they said, how's that? I said, we just need one more law. I think one more law will do it. That's a good day for them, huh? Just one more.
So how is it not coming up in the search?
Is it in the video?
He's shown at the podium in the video. So how is it? Let me. Cause there's Mr. Lee.
Service is not very good, but
It's cause you're in here and you're on the Wi-Fi.
it never is good in this building.
This is where they were telling Mr. Lee to come back.
Nobody ever told me.
That's all right. I got you. It's all right, I handled it. And you're looking 2024, right?
This is Miss Brewer.
Yeah. I think he's, right before her.
He did. It's not listed. Mr. Lee came in. Miss Brewer. Hang on. Hang on just a minute.
COVID marshal. They actually had COVID marshal.
He's the controller.
September.
Of 2024.
Mm-hmm. It's just Miss Brewer.
Trying to see if he was before or after. She was coming back to ask the board to rear her.
So he is speaking.
Volunteers.
We're not in a hearing. Christie corrected him.
Say anything.
Yeah, but it's not coming up in the search every time I search it.
Okay, so what day is it?
September of 2024.
So she was able to find it in September 24.
Okay.
Only because Melissa was able to pull the video and he was at the podium.
So on the 30, so page 31 is where you are. Do a control F, understand.
It's not.
It's not searching.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But you're in September?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me pull the September this way.
But I'm looking to see if he asked for.
He might have. Just,
Okay, here. We pulled a report yesterday.
do you want to look over her shoulder?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
If that's
yeah,
okay.
that's totally fine. I guess there are some permits that are open. So here's where I'm saying report, notified as the need becoming, and still work on that. I don't know how quickly you read, so if you,
No, I'm good.
you can just slap me.
She'll make you
Yeah.
fall out.
Yeah.
It's like my daughter. My daughter reads so fast. I'm
I
like,
do,
Girl, how
I
can
do,
you do that?
yeah.
She's a real problem for me.
I know, I'm
always
sorry,
feel
y'all,
a
I'm
little
sorry.
dizzy. Just a moment. Or we can.
Concerned. Before we do anything, they wanted to hear the other cases.
Okay, so he did come and ask, and
He didn't,
It was
it
open
was open forum, but they kind of put them all together. Mr. Lee came first, then Ms. Bruin, and Mr. Tran came up after that. And during the talk with Ms. Brewer, they included Mr. Tran also, so. And then we're not at a hearing, so then it came back to Mr. Tran.
and it was never.
is that all that he said on the transcript?
I can keep going. To make this payment. Okay, I mean, it sounds to be the same thing.
So he did come back.
So he said he was
In
coming in next
September.
month, but he never put it on the, he never tried.
He
to
didn't
get
come
it.
back again, yeah.
Well,
He-
because didn't the board say that they want to hear the cases first, right?
Yes, they did make that statement, they would like to hear the cases.
But he could have just, I mean,
He could have.
all he had to do was reach out and get it on the agenda.
Mr. Lee then wanted to come back up.
Okay.
And they allowed it.
Okay.
So they were doing all that in public forum.
Yes, all of that was, yes.
Okay,
It was similar to.
Well, and we now know that control find doesn't work on here.
that's good to know.
We have everybody back. Yes, we do.
I'm gonna, if you, but if you do it here.
Yeah, back on the other agenda.
If you pull it from the agenda, it searches.
Yes, sir.
Meeting is back in session.
Chairman Lister, if I could just have a moment. There's been a number of documents that we've reviewed here today that the board had questions about that are public record. I mentioned that earlier. As a matter of keeping the record straight, it's my position that those records need to be printed off and added to the agenda, even if it's added to the agenda items in case there is an appeal. Those records need to be part of the evidence in order for the court to make a decision, or depending on which direction the appeal would go, because it could go to either the board or to the court system, to our board or to the court system. So in that, considering that, I would make the recommendation
We
that,
need a motion to bring any evidence from today's meeting into the record.
right, any of the pages that she's presented to you, so that it's available, for that reason, then also for maintaining the public record.
Right. So I need a motion from all the evidence that's been shown today to be brought into public record for this meeting.
So moved.
I will do that, yeah.
And I have a motion, I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion approved.
So on your next agenda, and at the next meeting, you would look at that and say, yeah, we approved that. That would be part of your.
Gotcha. Thank you.
To make sure she can bring back
the exhibits for this, and you'd have a chance to look at those exhibits and say, yeah, those are the exhibits we looked at,
Good deal. Thank you.
in case there's any problems. There was one more thing. We did find where Mr. Tran had come before the board during the September public forum, and there had been a discussion then with him. We've shown that to his attorney. That was also, Mr. Lee was here and Ms. Brewer was here. It was public forum, so it couldn't be heard. But I think he was told that he could bring it back.
Okay.
Or he said he would see you next, I think he said he would see you. So just so you know, he did come before the board asking to get his license back, or his permitting privileges back in September of 2024.
So I would like to draw the board's attention to something because Mr. Hattler brought up moments before we needed a break about some potential projects in the county or some that he had contracted for prior to his suspension of permitting privileges, but is unable to fulfill that because of the suspension. Back in August of last year, many of you do know the role that I play for the county. I wear many hats. I'm the division manager of permitting. And in August of last year, we caught where Mr. Tran had attempted to pull permits while his permitting privileges were suspended. That's what you see on your screen right now is those voided items from August of 2024. Those permits were obtained by another contractor for those projects. And Mr. Tran, while his permitting privileges were suspended, did attempt to apply for and obtain permits. It was caught by myself, and he was notified he could not do that.
If I may approach and just comment on that one new issue that's just been raised. I was aware of this from the extent that my client mentioned it to me, but was not involved with that transaction with the county. And as I recall Mr. Tran's explanation, he was under the impression that after he closed out the permits, that the discussion we had in April where the board said, close out your permits and then, then you can have your permitting privileges reinstated. I think he was under the initial impression that after having closed out those permits, he could pull permits again. And that was obviously not the case, based on a clear reading of the record. And then that's why you'll see in the September public forum, because he came to me with this and I said, you need to go back to the public forum and ask, in other words, inform the board, hey, in April you said I do this and maybe I could get my permitting privileges back, and now I've done it, can I please have my permitting privileges back? So I think it was an honest misunderstanding, not an underhanded scheme, is what I'll say for the record on that point.
So we're back to, do we do a contingency for, continue to next month, or do we go ahead and make a disciplinary decision today? First of all, I would just ask this. Does anybody have a feel for waiting 30 days? Let's just kind of break it down and do a contingency.
If I can just say what I think we should revoke his license and end all of this. I'm concerned about the people who still have projects that's not completed. But my feeling is to revoke it and end it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Owen. You're a valuable part of the board.
So if you're going to have a discussion, then you may want to go and put that motion on the floor.
I'm just asking, though, does anybody have a feeling towards the contingency, or do we just need to put the motion for revoking on the floor?
You can just ask if there are any motions at this time.
Is there any motions at this time?
Yes, motion to revoke his license.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to revoke his license. Do I have a second to that so that we can have discussion?
Second.
So I have a motion to permanently revoke his license and a second. Is there discussion now?
Did we say that if we revoke it, he wouldn't be able to finish the projects, or he would be able to, that he has permitted?
Okay, so a revocation needs to be a minimum of 5 years. That's where it starts. And then as far as if his license is revoked, not just his permitting privileges. Once his license is revoked, he can't be a contractor for that time period.
Well, I can say this.
So revocation actually rescinds all those permits.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that have had to get new contractors, and it may work in their benefit to get rid of them now.
So the motion was for a revocation. Do you have a time frame in mind, Mr. Waters?
Said 5 years minimum, right?
Yes, sir.
5 years minimum.
Is that
Can-
outside of our purview?
So we have a motion on the floor of a revocation with 5 years.
Right. And a second, and so we're open for discussion right
Is
now.
the second include the 5-year minimum? Okay. Is that a
Yes, ma'am.
yes?
That's a yes.
I say that because the court reporter has to take it down.
And then we're at discussion phase now of seeing if we want to go forward with this.
And then there was the question from Ms. Jordan regarding what's the status of the other permits, basically,
Well,
of the open permits.
yeah, like, have we actually spoken to the owners of the,
So-
or can we, or should we?
We can, if it's the direction of the board, we can actually make contact with all of the open permits. We can do a permitting history review and see if maybe something just needed to be closed and isn't. Or maybe it's a document that needs to be fulfilled or something like that. We would have to do a complete.
Excuse me a second. Mr. Lee, not yet. Give us a second. Thank you.
We would have to do a complete permitting history check. We have an employee that does that.
I'm concerned personally, revocation or not, that part doesn't bother me. It's the people that would be left hanging out there that may not understand that that's where we're at. And if we go there, that's fine, but how will they get notified and what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do
We
to?
should mention the staff that does that.
Right. So what is our process if we do that today? What are we gonna do?
So I would like to bring up a historical case where this happened. Mr. Lacoste, Mr. Banks, those were historical cases where revocation was implemented. Once a revocation is performed, we have to reach out to any and all open permits and the property owner there and let them know that that permit has been basically rescinded due to revocation of license. And that is the procedure of doing that.
Is that only by mail or is that mail and phone?
So on the permitting documents, whatever permitting documents were provided, we go through that, see if we can contact them via phone, email, even notice. In some instances, on those cases, that property owner had already sold the property to someone else. So it changed hands, and we were made aware of that. So it depends on a case by case or permit by permit, really.
And once you revoke it, I want to follow the bouncing ball on the other side, aside from this case. Does it close the permit at that point? For the property's sake, for the next person or the current owner, does it close that permit so they don't have to worry about this open permit hanging out there?
And the status is actually changed to void because of revocation of license. That is no longer an active or even able to be active permit. So it does not impact the property owner for, like you would say, insurance purposes or something. It doesn't show, because a lot of title companies, lien companies come back after properties are during the process of properties changing hands through sale, whatever, and they say, oh, you have this open permit. That will not show up on an open permit search.
Okay.
Any other discussion? We have a motion on the floor to revoke license for 5 years and a second. Mr. Lee, would you like to approach the stand?
try to be nice because I don't want to my case bring you guys more case because I don't want to do you think maybe give him more 30 days to think about that one, tell him you will lose your license like 5 years, you can be a constructor because I don't want to, because my license bring more customers, say my job didn't finish, come to here. Do you understand me? Because I don't want to bring the more trouble to the innocent people. They don't know about this case. They don't know because the my train case, my job cannot done. I don't want to be more person like me. You need to tell him that's the last chance, 30 days. If you don't pay your money and you lost your license, your 5 years can be a constructor, right? Because I don't want you make a decision right now and his customer, because his customer don't know about him. And I don't want to, in the future, more customer come here, tell him, my train didn't finish my job, he take my money, he never finish. I don't want to happen more. I don't want to, any people like me come here to say, 7 years, about money to say.
So you're asking us to consider a 30-day
Yeah, give him a
continuance
chance.
before
Give
we
him-
do this?
Yeah, please. But you need to tell him that's your last chance, like 30 days.
Okay.
And I just want to say that's incredibly kind and generous of you.
Yeah, because I don't want more people like me. Lose your business, lose your house, lose your car, lose your marriage. That's no good. Because I don't know, when he lost license like a 5 year, and I don't want more people like me. So that's what I want to say.
I make a motion that
So-
we.
so we can't make a motion, we
Gotta
already have
withdraw
one on
the
the floor.
existing.
Okay.
Sorry for,
Yeah,
so.
sorry about that, but that's what I want to say.
All right, thank you,
Because
Mr.
I'm
Lee.
kind of people. I don't want to be a jerk, but I don't want more people like me.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. So if I have Robert's Rules of Orders correctly, and I'm not a scholar of that, then we have the option for the person who made the motion to amend the motion, or if not, we can go ahead and vote and yes or no. Is I right, Ms. Christie?
Let me correct a mistake I made.
Uh-oh.
So I
Let
pulled the-
history denote that
Yeah,
Ms. Christie
it's
made a mistake.
It happens more. It happens more often than I would like to admit, but I'll admit it here. So the revocation itself can be no less than a year, no more than 5. So I apologize because I said a minimum of 5. It is the maximum of 5, the minimum of 1.
Okay.
So I wanted to pull that on.
5 was still in the perimeter, but thank you for the clarification.
5 was in the perimeter, right?
Now, if I have it right, that he's made the motion, so either the person who made the motion can amend it, or we can vote and nobody vote for it, drops it, and pick up another motion behind that?
Well, you're still in discussion on that motion.
Right, we are now, but,
So you can get a feeling for what everybody wants to do.
right, that's
at
what
that
I'm saying,
point,
and
yeah.
then, and either, but he has the option to amend, since he made the motion,
You can amend or withdraw, right?
Right,
or withdraw, yeah, yeah.
right, and he can amend it based on my correction.
That's true, that's true.
Yeah, I'd like to just leave it at 5 years, and I have no confidence that this contractor is gonna do the right thing. I think it's gonna continue, that's my opinion, it's what I have observed. And I wanna go ahead and let's do a vote and get that out the way and see where y'all really stand.
He's gonna, it remains the same. Does the second remain the same?
Right, that, everything remains the same.
Does the person
Does
who
the
placed?
second remain the same?
Right, are they still seconding his original, that motion with
Mr.
the?
Paul?
I'll withdraw the second.
Okay, so do I have another second first to take the place? And the motion?
I'll second it.
You will second?
I'll second it.
Okay. So any discussion again? If not, we're going to go to a vote. No discussion? So all in favor of revoking the license for 5 years, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all opposed, raise your right hand. 1, 2. Motion is carried. I don't know if you can abstain or not, but
No, you can't abstain
you
on this
can't
vote.
abstain. Ms. Luna, would you like to,
It still carries.
it's still going to, it's still going to carry either way. If you vote against it.
I vote with what Mr. Lee was saying.
Okay. So the vote still carries 4-3 for revoking of his license for 5 years.
Okay.
Which kind of puts a nail in it.
I think that's the only decision that needed to be made in this hearing. So we will be moving on to 8.2. Mark P. Nunez, doing business as Creekwood Builders LLC, state registered license number RR 282812147, Contractor Competency Board complaint number 241194COM. It's in regard to Jonathan Richter, homeowner complainant at 4685 Scenic Court, Pensacola, Florida 32504. This was in the city limits. Neither party is present today because Mr. Nunez actually reimbursed Mr. Richter. If you remember, Mr. Richter paid Mr. Nunez a deposit, and that's really the only reason that Mr. Richter filed the complaint against Mr. Nunez, and Mr. Nunez has, again, reimbursed Mr. Richter. I will bring up the administrative complaint for Mr. Nunez. At that probable cause hearing, the board determined that there was probable cause to believe that the respondent violated Escambia County Code Section 1837C6, which a violation of that code section is financial mismanagement or misconduct in the practice of contracting that causes financial harm to a customer. The board cited at that time that Mr. Nunez received funds from the homeowner as a retainer and failed to return the funds after termination of the agreement by the homeowner. Again, neither party is present. Staff would request that the testimony provided at the probable cause hearing, as well as those agenda items and these new agenda items, which includes the proof of reimbursement payment, be moved into evidence for this hearing today.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All right, motion second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. See none, hear none. Motion is approved to move into evidence today.
So the decision before the board today is to whether or not to find Mr. Nunez in violation of Code Section 1837C6.
And that was stating that he
Mismanagement.
mismanaged funds, but he has repaid those funds now.
You think that's correct?
That's correct, yeah. So he's corrected what was wrong,
Yes, sir, in that case, he has.
okay? So,
I'll make a motion to take no further action against this case.
let's
Ask,
let's ask our legal real quick. So we have a motion to take no further action and a second. That is within our perimeters, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on this?
Yep, just want to say mighty nice,
Say what now?
mighty nice.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? The motion is to take no further action since he paid the money back. So, all right, let's vote again. The motion on the floor and second is to take no further action on this case since he's has been reimbursed the amount. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed?
Sorry, I missed the discussion part. Going back to this, it was discussed that if he did make the payment, then he would be made complete on both ends. Is that essentially what was up for it? Okay, thank you.
So which way are you voting, Ms. Luna?
On the worst contingency.
The motion's going to carry, but,
Yeah, then, yes. if that was
okay.
complete.
Motion is carried.
Is she voting in favor of the motion? For the record, are you voting in favor of the motion, which is to take no further action? Could you just repeat the vote so that it's all clear on the record?
Okay.
That was my only discussion part on that. It's just, I just wanted to be clear and make sure that that was discussed prior, that if he made full in the payments, then he would be no further action, right? But
Well,
I just also don't, because I understand the point made here is that we just don't want to set a precedent for others to think that they can do, and then later, as long as they make payment at an 11th hour, then everything will be okay.
So the way that it's treated by the board is it's not a bargain. They don't tell them if you do this. It will be considered by the board when they make the determination. So it's not a trade.
It's,
And we
But
wa-
it does encourage people to get things straightened out, and I
We
think
want to
that's
give them
what
an
the board.
opportunity to get everything done right, and if the payment's paid in full, and, you know, it's an opportunity, and again, we can put them for violation, it's a small amount, but, you know, giving that encouragement to, when you pay it in full, that, you know, shows that, okay, you're serious about it, you want to protect your license.
Make a
And this
point.
was, yeah, to make a point, and this was paid in full, and it came back to us, and both of them agreed that, you know, he's paid it and they've accepted it. So therefore, the reason for the motion to no further action. And again, in some cases, when it comes back to us multiple times, and, you know, we're having a hard time, like with this case before, we make a decision based on the amount of times that they're dragging it on over and over again. So, yep, that's it.
So I would like to take a revote. I don't know how this works with Robert's rule, only because there was some discussion after the vote was started.
Right, as the
Because we never
chairperson.
officially ended the vote. I never declared what was done, but,
As the chairperson, you can certainly just recall the vote.
all right, so I'll just recall the vote just for clarification purposes today. All in favor of the motion to take no further action, raise your right hand. Okay. All opposed, raise your right hand, and the motion carries 7-1. Thank you all for working with me on that to make sure I get it clarified.
Isn't that 6-1, or did you vote, Mr. Lister?
6, I'm sorry.
So the record should reflect that it was
The
6-1.
record should reflect it was the majority. 6-1. Is it a half moon outside or something? I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Is there anything else on the agenda that I cannot see?
No, sir.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys for your time today.
Okay.
I always like opposition.
Does it? We need to ask her.
Right? That's what I always like opposition. That means we're doing our jobs. We can't always be.
Hey, Ms. John, doing all right today?